Hey y'all, I'm LaToya Drake, Program Coordinator with Kentucky's Nutrition Education Program for the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service, and I'm here plating it up Kentucky proud. We have recipes for any season that we're in with locally produced vegetables that we're focusing on, and they're super tasty. There's hundreds of recipes in our database between Plate It Up Kentucky Proud and PlanEatMove.com actually as well. We're going to talk about tomatoes today, and we're going to talk about pizza, because pizza is one of my favorite things. And there's no better thing than have pizza delivered to your door, right? Actually, last night, I'll give a story. My sister-in-law's in town, and they got pizza for delivery, and it's literally 3 minutes from my house. But the pizza guy was not there in 20 minutes, so we went and got it. So what's better is cooking it at home, and then you only have to wait 5 or 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. That's going to save you some time because, most folks are, there's not much help at many restaurants. So this is a great option to cook at home, super quick, and it's got a bunch of hearty vegetables, right? So let's start this up. We've got a couple tablespoons of oil, vegetable oil. This is just canola. And let me go over all of the ingredients while that oil gets hot. This is going to take 1.5 cups of Monterey Jack cheese. It's going to take a cup of broccoli. It's going to take a medium zucchini, a medium onion, and a red pepper, half of that red pepper sliced. At my big box store, they didn't have red peppers, so I use what I can get. That's what we do when we're trying to save money and we still want things to taste good. So I went with the next best thing, and I went with orange. And then it's got tomatoes. So what we're going to do is we're going to saute all these vegetables up together and then top our pizza with those. This is a pizza that doesn't have a marinara base. It's just going to be more of a cheese base with the vegetables on top. And my pan is really hot, so let's saute these vegetables. I'll start with this tougher veggie. Oh, super hot. Last time I did this with a pan, we didn't get it hot enough, but now I am making moves. Let's turn this down and let this go down so I don't burn myself even more. In fact, let me grab some paper towels, guys. Get some of this grease out. Stuff happens in the kitchen. All right. So I've turned my heat down because I had it super high. While we're waiting on that to go down some, let's top our pizza with half of the cheese as the recipe calls for. There it goes. It's sounding like the temperature is lowering. So we're putting half of this Monterey Jack, Kobe Jack cheese onto this pizza. Being sure to cover it all up because there's no sauce on this pizza. So the sauce that's going to be on this pizza is the juices from the vegetables, right? So right now, tomatoes are in season, as well as zucchini and peppers, actually, and onions. There's lots in season. But we're focused on tomatoes because there's nothing like a fresh local tomato. Let's see. Hopefully I won't burn myself again. Oh, yeah, we're turned down. We're good now. We're rocking and rolling. So I'm adding the zucchini. Starting to smell because the broccoli. I'm adding the onions. Let's add the peppers. I'll wait on the tomatoes because they're going to cook up differently. Stir it up to coat them all with the oil. This is going to be super beautiful and pretty and actually super nutrient dense. It calls for a wheat crust, but at my big box store we didn't have wheat crust, so you get what you get. And this is just a regular box crust. Super cheap. There's 2 in the box. You could even get like a cauliflower crust if that's more your thing. You could make your own wheat crust if you're trying to do the healthy thing. So I added the garlic, the minced garlic. Now I need to go back up a little. There we go. Now we're cooking. It also calls for Italian seasoning, so I'm going to add that too. It was about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. So I've got my oven preheated. It's at 450, and that's going strong while we saute our vegetables. Looking pretty. I know that red pepper would have had a different look. I would have liked that, but they didn't have it. So I had to get what was there, and it's still gonna taste good. You know, something I would really like on this pizza, once it's done, is some balsamic glaze or balsamic vinaigrette, you know, just drizzled on top. That would give it a really, really good, tangy, sweet flavor with all these savory vegetables. So the Italian seasoning is coating them. Let's go ahead and add our tomatoes. It says to saute them for 4 to 5 minutes or so. We're just gonna watch. This is a fresh tomato from my local farmer's market, actually. It's actually from an Allen County farmer. Mr. Ray Haggerty has some tomatoes that are really good, and there's lots of farmers at our local farmer's market in Allen County and in the counties in Tennessee and Barron County where I live. So check it out and get some good tomatoes because they do taste so much better. Like local foods taste much better because they are fresh. They spend more time in the fields and in trucks traveling to us. So it's important that we eat these local foods because they're gonna just taste so much better and look so much better and last so much longer in the refrigerator. I was noticing that too, that I had a couple of peppers from the farmer's market 2 weeks ago and they still were firm, and I was like, oh, y'all didn't go bad on me? So I need to use those up because it's gonna last longer because it spent more time in the field and it came right to me. Check out these beautiful vegetables. That red looks super pretty. And the orange. I kind of like the orange actually now with the red of the tomato. Okay, almost together. So we can put it in the oven. Got a bunch of garlic right there. Let me mix this out. So there's so many different types of pizzas that you can make. If you keep a couple of, you know, pizza crust on hand, like I like to keep a cauliflower crust in the freezer or some other kind of crust in the freezer to make my own pizzas. For example, recently I made a different kind of tomato pizza. I used tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, like the mozzarella ball, with some fresh basil, and I put that on my pizza with a little olive oil. And that was where my pizza's toppings. So I was able to use those local tomatoes up. Because you know, once stuff comes in season in this area, we have an abundance of vegetables. You know, we're starving with food in both hands, so we need to make sure that we're using this food up. All right, I like how that's looking. I think I'm about to pop. I'm trying to break up the onions too, so they're like, you know, strips, rather than big chunks of onion on the pizza. Even though I like onion cooked. That smells great and looks so pretty. Okay. Let's top our pizza. Let's turn off our stove and put this on top of the pizza. Super hearty. I'm gonna try to get all of these vegetables on there too, because we need our greens. Okay. Smells so good. And I'm scooping it out because I don't want all that grease. Like, I don't want too much extra grease on this pizza. Rather than just dumping it from this pan. So one day I'll probably get the temperatures right for these, and by the time that happens, this county will have another agent most likely. So I'm used to being burnt, which is all right. I've worked a lot in food service. Okay, look at that, guys. Super pretty, super colorful. So we're gonna top it with the last part of the cheese. And it, like it said 1.5 cups of cheese. But honestly, at home, I probably just use the whole bag, the 2 cups of cheese. You didn't hear that from me, but I probably would do that. A serving of this is gonna be, you know, 1 slice, and this is gonna make 8 slices. And we think about, when even using more cheese, this is still going to be less calories and more nutrient dense than the pizza you get from a pizza store, right? It's going to be much more healthier for you because it's got all of these nice veggies. Okay, let's stick this in here. The oven is preheated. We put it on in here. And I put parchment paper on there because I just don't like cleaning. So let's set a timer for not an hour. How about minutes? Let's set it for 5 minutes. We'll look at it. All right. So let's talk about tomatoes. Tomatoes, y'all, are in season right now. And I was talking about them being one of my favorite things in the summertime. There's nothing like a fresh, just ugly tomato, because it seems like they taste better the uglier they look, right? So tomatoes are in season from July, so this month, until October. So it's important that we use seasonal vegetables because, like we were talking about, they're going to taste better and they're going to be fresher. They're going to be right off the truck from the farm rather than right off the truck from another state. So we want to make sure we're using it fresh and supporting our local farmers. You know, when we're thinking about tomatoes, they're nutrient dense, right? And they're super high in vitamin C, vitamin A, and fiber. So that's something to consider when you're eating these super fruits, but vegetables, because how we use them in recipes makes them a vegetable. But you know, they're technically fruits, but we use them like vegetables. When you're looking at tomatoes, you want to select them that are firm and well-rounded. Not too much damage on that. You know, I do, like I was talking about, like I love a big ugly tomato, but you can see how that's grown and make sure that there's no, damage, like we said. So you want to choose one that's firm, free of blemishes, there's a word, heavy for their size, and they give slightly to pressure. So 1 pound of tomato yields about 2.5 of cups chopped tomatoes. So that's 1 pound of whole tomatoes yields about 2.5 cups of chopped tomatoes. So remember that for your recipes as well. So when we store tomatoes, it's important that we don't just shove those into the fridge. And sometimes I do put them in the fridge when they're ripe and I still want to use them in a couple of days. But when we're storing them prior to them being ripe, we want to store them on the countertop. That's the typical place to store a tomato at room temperature. And we want to use them within 3 days or so. But I've had tomatoes last a week, week and a half that are fresh from the farmer's market because they're not spending that time traveling to me, right? So we want to store them at room temperature, like we said. And if you're trying to ripen them, like a green tomato, you want to put that in a brown paper bag, and that's going to get right for you. So our pizza is cooking. I start to smell it. It's been there a couple minutes. We got about 3 more minutes left. So when we are preparing tomatoes or any produce, especially those from our markets, well, especially any produce, we want to make sure that we're washing it off and getting it clean in cool water and scrumming away any debris with our finger. That's sufficient enough to get everything off. We want to make sure that we if we want to peel our tomato, we can boil that tomato for 30 seconds or so, and that skin's going to loosen up, and then you put it in an ice bath, and it's just going to fall right off. So if you need to skin your tomatoes before you can them or before you use them in a recipe, that's the quick way to do it. So to seed a tomato, you want to just scrape the inside with like a spoon or a knife, but a spoon works better. Just scrape those seeds out. And to slice a tomato, you want to slice it lengthwise with a serrated knife, preferably, because that's going to cut easier than a regular paring knife or chef knife. A serrated knife is going to be your best bet when cutting tomatoes. So we've been talking about vegetables, farmers markets, and vegetables are wonderful toppings for our pizza. They're going to be more non-traditional than our sausage and pepperoni, but they're going to be lower fat and they're going to be great for us. So vegetables are great toppings, and especially focusing on those that are in season and using what you got. So this is a great way to use up this in-season food. And when you are using meat, you want to consider using low sodium meat. That's something lower fat meat, leaner cuts of meat, just to make sure that that's more healthy. Or use what you got too. So we've got other plated up Kentucky Proud pizza recipes, and they include the berry and basil crisp with honey balsamic. That's pretty good, actually. I like savory blackberries more than I would expect. We also have a blackberry omelet recipe that's better than you would expect. Really good, actually. We have a tomato and corn pesto pizza. We have a summer squash pizza. We have a zucchini rosemary pizza. And we also have a line of budget-friendly pizzas on our Planet Mood website, but those that I mentioned are plated up Kentucky Proud. Some Planet Move pizzas we have are a breakfast pizza, a Hawaiian pizza, a garden fresh tomato pizza. That's actually our July recipe for our nutrition and food calendar. If you've seen those at our extension services in our Kentucky area, that's something to check out. That tomato pizza looks delicious. All right, it's making some noise. So let's see how it looks. Okay. It's melty, but I would want it crispier. But we're gonna check it out. Check this out. And I might stick it back in there after you guys check it out, just to get that crust crispier. But we've got our veggie pizza, our broccoli pizza, super loaded with veggies. Like we mentioned, a great way to top this would be some balsamic glaze or a little olive oil or some fresh basil. But check this out and check out all of our Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes. For this recipe, reach out to the website, check out Facebook, check out Instagram, and also reach out to Barry Hyatt at nctc.com. And I appreciate you watching. I'm LaToya Drake, Program Coordinator with Nutrition Education Program for the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Thanks.